right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Grow Your Moving Company podcast. I've got with us the lead general of the Moving Army, also the founder, CEO, and owner of Central Coast Moving and Storage, as well as Lucky Day Moving and Storage, formerly Pearson Moving, out there in Phoenix, as well as the San Luis Obispo. Am I saying that market right over there in California with Central Coast?
Yep.
We've got Austin Yarborough. He is a multi-dimensional character in the moving industry. He's a guest on the podcast, a returning guest. Thank you, Austin, for coming back on here today. And you have been teaming up with us with your Moving Army and the Moving Titan Retreat to throw a banger mastermind retreat in June over there in his new hometown of Scottsdale. Welcome to the show. What's new, Austin?
Hey, thanks for having me out here, Wade. For those of you that are watching this visually, something big and new is my personal rebrand. I'm going just to a new chapter. I'm bald now. So if you can't tell it in my voice and you're just listening to this on Spotify or something like that, you're looking at a shiny head over here on my side. But yeah, man, really enjoying life.
Look at you, man. You look hard. You're right. Just in time for summer to tan that dome, or spring, I should say. I hear it's getting up to like the hundreds up there already.
Yeah, only 100. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I randomly like keep tabs on my Apple weather to just all the different cities that I go to or have been to, just to kind of see like where they're at. And I saw that y'all had like a high of like 103 the other day. Maybe it was yesterday. That's wild for March. I mean, it's getting a little warm here in Florida, but we're sticking in the 80s for now, but humid at the same time. So yeah, you've had a lot going on since last time you came on the podcast. I know we've been talking as we prepare for our retreat coming up here in June, where we'll be coming out to visit you and tour some other awesome companies and just get everybody together. But you bought a company and rebranded a company. I don't know if you had Pearson last time you came on the podcast. Maybe you had just closed on that or relatively recently.
Yeah, it was like, I think last time was like last January, not this recent one, 2025 January maybe, or even pretty far back there.
When you bought Pearson or when you?
Oh yeah. So last time we were on the podcast, it was like right before. It was either right during or.
Nice. Well, walk me through that experience. I mean, what was it like buying a company? I mean, where were they? Where have you taken them so far? And then what was the reason for the rebrand?
Awesome. These are great questions. I mean, a lot of us actually are wanting to do this, and I'm really happy to actually shed like some like pros, cons, everything in between, and personal stories on this. So, I mean, first of all, I want to give a shout out to Stephen Mandek with Clutch Moving. It all kind of like started moving faster when I saw him acquire a branch in Tucson, and he was just getting crazy, going to the next level. And I was like, damn, dude, like, if Steven can do this, like I can totally do this. My business is in a really good spot. I'm out of the day-to-day. I'm like feeling like a little stagnant. I've hit these levels and I want to go to the next level. And like, I think a lot of us like feel trapped in our business sometimes. Like I couldn't go into a different industry. I've built this so high. I'm at the mountaintop right now, but it's like, look, like there's other mountains to go towards, and you can still you can start somewhere else at the same level and conquer both mountains. And so really, like through the acquisition, there's a few things we did. If you're thinking about an acquisition, first of all, you need access to capital. You need access to capital as in you need to have 300K in your bank account just in general. You need 300K to execute something like this. You need to have, and that's aside from the purchasing of the company. That's after you purchase it, to change things, implement things, buy assets, sell assets, move things around, and a potential dip in revenue. Number two, you have to have a really good understanding of the market and what you're doing, like really good research and idea of what you're doing. And then number three, access to other means of capital and knowledge of doing acquisitions. So Kyle owner financed 50% of the acquisition. And I won't get into too many of the details on the price, but it was a good price. If you guys want, you can reach out to me on Instagram. And so basically, he owner financed half, and then we used a line of credit for half. So I bought this $1 million company. For basically $0 out of pocket. I mean, because I knew I had to inject a bunch of money to get the rocket ship going that I wanted to sail. A few things to really consider is that businesses are truly a mirror of the owner. I think it's a misunderstanding that these core values of businesses are really like just like decided by how the business operates. I think it's truly designed by the business owner. And the best way to do this, if you're listening to this, get up the notes of your phone or pull up ChatGPT or whatever AI you're using and say, like, hey, what would people ask me questions to define who I am and what's important to me and what people would say about me at my funeral? So when you can understand this, you can know when there's deviation inside of your business or your brand or anything because that's your family, like it's your job to protect them. Who you invite into this is completely up to you, and they could be the fox into the hen house. And so when anyone in your business varies from that. And right now, like my family is about getting 1% better every single day and being a 24-hour person. Things people would say about me at my funeral is that he always followed through with what he said he's going to do. You know, he built others up around him. And I think that, going a little off tangent on that, right now, the number one businesses in any field, the number one businesses in our industry are people that are building communities around them or joining communities and bringing people around them. That is the number one competitive edge that's going on. And that's what's allowed me to execute at such a high level. And everyone's like, how do you do so much more, 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 more? It's really all about like, how fulfilled am I? Because my output, like I can condense output into hours that would take people days because I'm fulfilled. Like I have the energy to go out and I don't put things off like that. So now to the rebrand. So now that you've got 300K in the bank, you've got a business that runs without you, and then you've got line of credit, access to capital to execute something like this, and a team. You need a team that is like truly on board with this vision and this goal and that want more. Because if you can, like, you have to be able to pass the football to the team and they have to be able to execute without you. Okay. And number 5, you want to make sure that you want this with your spouse, with your family. Like this is something you're committed to doing. Lauren has family in Arizona. Everyone thinks that this was a decision that I made in the last 12, 24 months. It wasn't. I decided 5 years ago I was going to open a branch in Arizona. I've been watching this market. I've been watching these competitors. I've been looking at these brands, analyzing these moves. I've been doing moves to Arizona. Like to act like I just came in like a cowboy is incorrect. Like I've been studying, analyzing, doing all these things, putting in 5 years of work for what I did today. And the whole thing with the rebrand, I just felt like Pearson, when your company's a last name, that's awesome. I'm not knocking on it, but like it's also not my freaking last name. Like all of you listening to this, and you too, Wade, like we're creators, right? Like we create, we want to be, that's us. We need integrators right beside us, but we're a creator. And I didn't create this, and I wanted to create. And then I was on a camping trip in July. Every year we do a family trip in California. Shout out to the fam. And let's just rewind. Like shout out to my wife, Lauren Yarborough. None of this would have been possible without her. She is literally the secret weapon for me. And so, anyways, so we go on this family camping trip to Yosemite kind of area every year in California. Well, I saw this one truck pass me. It said Lucky Day Logistics. And I was like, damn, like that's got a good ring to it. Like you're not going to forget that. So I was like, oh, GoDaddy Lucky Day Moving. And I found it and I bought it, and I bought Lucky Day Movers because Central Coast Movers, I didn't own that one and always bugged the shit out of me. Some defense on it. And then from August to January, officially in January, we did the full brand launch. And by the end of January, I had 3 trucks wrapped. And I didn't use my own capital. I used OPM, other people's money, to brand my trucks because I need to build my brand, but I don't exactly want to fork over 50 grand for all my pickups and moving trucks out here. So leveraging aggressive attack mode when others are playing defense, like I've gone forward and grabbed territory. And so I wanted something more fun, more scalable, more franchisable, because Central Coast is a beautiful brand. I think honestly, there's only 2 people like Tony overseeing out there that's really executed 2 really strong brands that I actually really love, like YEG and then Calgary, and 2, two different ones. And I just felt like Central Coast wasn't the franchisable brand. And I was like, dude, like Lucky Day, like I can put that anywhere. Moving Day, make Moving Day a Lucky Day, hashtag get lucky. And so that's kind of like how it came to be. And then now we're like doing double the numbers we did last year. Referrals are like 5 to 6x. Like everyone in the moving army is rebranding their trucks because they see what I'm doing. And like I'm like, hey, don't use your money right now on this. Like hold your money in the bank, use other people's money, pay a little cost, but get the work to pay for it. Like it's the cart before the horse a lot of times on these types of things, and making action before you're maybe all the way ready instead of putting it off. So that's been huge for us. I mean, like just on the same approach with a different, better, brighter brand, it's insane. Like I've even changed things now at Central Coast, Wade, that like my Instagram profile, follow us, now it's blue because now I want to refresh a rebrand of it. I might even try a blue truck out in the Central Coast to just see how well it does. So branding, even Smart Moving said it, branding is everything right now. And I totally think that like, yeah, I mean your brand's beautiful, like it's just like it's memorable, it's iconic, it's purple and gold, so that's kind of how it came to be, man.
Yeah, no, that's a lot to unpack. So I love the brand. I think Lucky Day is a great name for a moving company, and bright green. You don't see a lot of trucks driving around with that. When you bought Pearson originally, what all did you get with that deal? I won't ask like what you paid for it, but like how many
Sure,
trucks
yeah.
did you get? A team? Did you get? I'm just curious. Like what was the reason for purchasing it versus just starting something from scratch?
Yeah. And I can go into my fails and successes too in doing that because I think there's more to unpack in it. So, acquisition, the whole reason versus like starting on your own, a lot of times there's like people that want out and you have to search for them, you have to hunt for them, but they want out and then maybe or need a break. And so I mean, it's a good time in the business to do these things, and honestly, things get sold a lot cheaper. So we got 3 moving trucks when we bought the company, forklift, 30 vaults filled with storage. So to pay for a warehouse that we were in. So you're like starting off with momentum. Kyle also had the business for 13 years prior to that, and so that means that there was referrals from 13 years of goodwill. And remember when I said the business is a reflection of you, like a straight mirror? Well, I mean, when the person who ran it for 13 years leaves, like I would say 30, 40% are going to go with it too. So just assume when you're doing these calculations on acquisitions that 30 to 40% of referrals are going to go if the owner is tied to the brand, like specifically. I mean, like my company, Central Coast, like I know if I ever sold that company, like, dude, it would do like a million less immediately, just because like my influence that I have on the connections, the agents, and then like it could be worse the next year just because like then everyone would know. So I mean like that's just something my perspective on it. Yeah, versus start your own. So like think about this: start your own. So now you have to buy a truck, finance a truck. You have to get a warehouse, paying first month's, second month's. You have to find a team, train them, get the marketing, build a brand, all these things. When I just turned key, in my opinion, just like using virtual assistants, shout out to Stephen Reed with Ready Rolls. Like basically, it's easier to go 60 to 120 miles an hour than 0 to 60. And so like sometimes some projects I go 0 to 60 and have my virtual assistants do the rest or my team. Sometimes I do just the 60 to 120. But like if you look at like execution into two different halves, and the reason why I say 120 is because 100 is what everyone else does. The barrier to success is in the extra mile. I'm going to say that again. The barrier to success is in the extra mile that you go above every single other person. Like right now, can I share a little secret called the circle of love?
Yeah.
So the circle of love is called the circle of love. There's two things, and it's when we call them heat cases or damages or frustrations or even jobs going longer. And then let me write down a reminder to myself, GM. And so basically, it's 2 items that are circular, and you could make it whatever you want, make it your own. But we do crumble cookies. One of my coaches was like, "Yeah, dude, we use crumble cookies to say thank you for referrals or this and that." And then basically, like the crumble cookies are just like if you kind of like let's just say someone's late to an estimate or missed it or movers did something, left the door open at the client's house and they should have shut it, came back at 9 p.m. or they had to unpack a few things or they missed a few things. Or pizza, like pizza is relatively cheap. And imagine like you could defend your moving company from 1-star reviews just from buying a client pizza and soda. Hey, I know today's been a really long day. I really appreciate like all the hard work that you put in today. I want to get you pizza, dinner with your family tonight, something easy, light that like, not difficult. And like, cause they were probably going to get the pizza anyways. But imagine the narrative of the story they tell their friends. Yeah, we paid a lot more than we expected. And it took like till 9 p.m. But like they bought us pizza. Like, isn't that pretty cool? Like, have you ever had that? Like it changes the narrative of the end of the story. Like just because you're 90% through doesn't mean you can't go the extra mile and take it to the next level. And the whole experience, they're leaving the experience with you as in like, dang, there was extra effort there. Like they didn't have to do that. It's unreasonable hospitality. That's something like big that I think that's been like working really well for us. And Crumble Cookie's so scalable. Like you do this for all your franchises, honestly. And they just send you like a little icon, a circle or a cookie or a pizza. And you just, someone's executing that like a VA.
Hey movers, it's Wade Sweikel, and you're listening to the Grow Your Moving Company podcast. If you've ever wasted money on marketing to the wrong homes, listen up. This is why I use USA Home Listings. They're the only platform in the moving industry built by movers that not only has new home listings and under contract listings updated daily, but now offers enhanced data that can eliminate vacant homes and give you phone numbers and emails for both homeowners and realtors, giving you multiple ways to connect and close more jobs. Their vacancy AI tool removes empty homes so there are no more wasted mailing efforts, and their Tier 2 data takes it further, providing highly accurate contact details for both homeowners and realtors for email, phone, and social outreach. The result? Higher conversions, stronger ROI, and more book jobs with less spend. Check out usahomelistings.com because it's where real movers get real leads.
Fails and successes on it. I would say my biggest failure with the acquisition is that my assumption that we were just going to double the company immediately. Like we did relatively about the same first year. This year we're doubling for sure, maybe even triple if I'm lucky. Get it, lucky movie. So we went into a warehouse that was like too big, and I mean it wasn't that big, but it was too much overhead for what the business could support. You know how I said I kind of lost a few leads. And so my predictions were a little bit higher than what the actual, income was. And I don't even like the wooden vault storage model anyways. And so I really felt like that was a big failure of not sticking to my guns and my instinct. Like, hey, put these clients out, push them, hit up Derek Green out here that does the storage collective. Shout out to Derek. Get your move on. And so I don't know. And then, successes, I felt like I was really able to build a lot of connections. That's really relational business, social media, turned it up to now we're doing 2 posts a day, it's really all about branding and trust. People don't there's only 2 reasons people don't use 2 college bros is because number 1, they don't like the color purple, or number 2, they haven't heard about you yet. And which one is it? And it's probably the second, the latter, right? Is that a lot of times is the attention is what to your brand is what's going to get you more business than actually being good at moving. I don't claim to be the best mover out there. We have some Facebook videos. If you want a good laugh, go through the Central Coast Facebook page. There's just guys with big egos talking a ton of shit on us. And I don't really care. I poke the bear because I want more views, more comments, more attention. And all of a sudden I have 150,000 views in the last 30 days on my Facebook page. And I told Lauren, I was like, we're going to be one of the top 5 most known independent, smaller moving companies in the world pretty soon here.
Yeah. Who's talking shit? Is that in the mover Facebook pages, or are you talking community pages, or I'll go find them for
Facebook page. Central Coast. Dude, it's so funny. There's one, and then I started leveraging them. So I saw that they were talking a bunch of shit. And then I was like, okay, let's do one thing wrong with this video. Let's go up the ramp the wrong way. Let's not wrap this properly. And then let's let them trigger them, talk the shit. And then I just poke the bear. And then now I have to stay off the comments because it kind of pisses me off on the shit they talk. But it's actually like super cool to see that like how big our industry reaches, and like there's these random dudes, they all work from van lines. They're talking shit on the other van lines. It's honestly, it'll give you a kick because like I like talk some good shit on there too. So it's fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to go check that out. So, it's kind of scary to rebrand something that's been around, especially for 13 years. I've had thoughts of doing it. I mean, Two College Brothers sounds like it might be a smaller company if it's the first time you're hearing about it. And it was the story of our company's beginnings when I was in college, and we've well outgrown the whole college scene with it and focusing on a higher end clientele. And so I've had those thoughts, but I always end up coming back to it's brands don't make companies, companies make brands. And we've
Mm-hmm.
built so much goodwill and are so well known in our communities at this stage that I think it would probably hurt us more than it would help us because people know who we are. But I'm just curious, like, did you have any of those fears when you decided to rebrand? You have 13 years worth of customers. If they're trying to work with the same company as before,
Mm-hmm.
they can't find it. They find Lucky Day, they see that it's been sold. Like, what did you do did you write letters or reach out to that previous customer list somehow to let them know what was happening and how it was going to ultimately be for the better? Or what was some of the pitfalls or fears, and were those fears even you know relevant? I mean, was it actually an issue at all once you actually did it?
So like here's a lesson too in it. As you're doing the acquisition, I would just put into the contract that like the owner, you would approve the email that goes out telling people that the torch has been passed, or if it at all. Like, because I know Kyle was so integrated with the company, like it almost was like an obligation that he felt like he had to do. But I also feel like that action kind of hurt, knowing that I'm a stranger from California coming in with my California energy, like, and so like I think that that kind of negatively impacted. Not that was completely unintentional. So like what I did is I voicemail dropped all the past clients, let them know on the new ownership originally. I didn't even really say anything on the new brand, but I've DM'd a ton and ton of outbound marketing, phone calls, emails, text messages, all the things, networking things, everything I could to just change the narrative of like it's Pearson to Lucky Day. And it used to really frustrate me. Like even my friends would be like, Patterson's moving, Pearson's like, Pierce moving. Like it just pissed me off. Like, and I'm like, dude, like it was my own last name and they're messing it up. And I just was like, I'm tired of this. And I want like, you hear Lucky Day moving, Lucky Day moving. And so that was like, I don't know, like really got to me inside, I think. And it just like fired me up with enough like sizzle to execute as swift as possible. And the craziest thing I've done, like, and like this maybe no one talks about. So now like the moving army for my company shirts, we have a flag, American flag, it's just black and white, and then the moving army on the shirt. And the moving army is what ties the two branches together, like culturally, right? And then on this side, it has hashtag get lucky. And so it's just like super cool to see like this one company ownership came in. I forgot to tell you, half the team left, business slowed down, like having to keep inject cash in the business. And then like we had like it was like 40K, 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 100K, 200K a month in July. And it was like, holy shit, like I'm like I can't even predict this. We went through 3 operations managers in California. My main one out there, Nate, moved here. Shout out to Nate. Moved here into sales, pivoting all sorts. I'm flying back. I spent June, July, and August back in California. I may make it look easy, but like holy shit, like I've made sacrifices, I've made investments, and like where we are today has been crawled and scraped and earned and carved out of the earth to get to. And I mean, like man, like having someone at home like my wife just supporting me and always like in the ups and downs and all arounds, like being consistent, going to the gym with me even when she doesn't feel like it, has been amazing. So like yeah, that's pretty much the outbound brand awareness that I went through.
Yeah. Have you seen growth, A, since you took over now that it's been about a year, and B, since you've done the rebrand? Or is it kind of like one step back, two steps forward approach?
So I mean, like end of last year, like with under the Pearson name, it was like end of last year, we did 40Ks and then like ending at 100K months, like every single month. So there's a lot of momentum. I mean, we came into January as a company hitting records for both locations. I think historic records. And so like I felt like Pearson was finally catching some referrals, and so I left up the website. Right now, my biggest concern is that if I switch the Google name, it's gonna like negatively score me in Google and negative impact me. So I'm kind of like bummed on that. Like I
Well,
don't, I
there's ways to do that. Yeah, I don't know who you work with for SEO, but there are ways. It is a little risky. I mean, anytime you change something with Google, if you move addresses, which we're going through right now, we're being very strategic about our warehouse move. Having moved our address, but there are ways to do that with a good SEO company. We work with Mover Search Marketing, and we've tossed around the idea about the rebrand. Like I said, I don't have any plans to rebrand at this stage because I've realized that, like I said before, the company makes the brand at the end of the day, and it's more about the presentation and the execution than it is about the name. And you can always spin a name. You can spin a name to talk about your beginnings and your backstory and where you came from. People ask about it, but there are ways to switch that name on Google. But I've never done kind of what you're doing, and I'm not the expert at it. I just try to hire the experts for it. But
totally.
that's interesting. So Pearson's got a little bit of SEO traction, it sounds like, and you probably have a Lucky Day website up as well that you're probably trying to get reviews on and
Duplicated,
GMP
yeah.
from. Yeah.
And it's like I duplicated Central Coast website, same designer, and it's super slick. If you guys want to check it out, luckymoving.com. Like it that I think's been really helpful too. And I have like a pop up that says recently rebranded Pearson Moving, and then clients are like, "Oh, Pearson has these shitty Yelp reviews," and I'm like, "Oh, like yeah, like I saw that and I had to rebrand the company." It's not really the full truth, but it's part of it. Like like if you don't care about Yelp and like I don't even know if Central Coast has like the best Yelp rep, because I literally
Nobody has a good Yelp score because Yelp is. I mean, we all know the Yelp stuff. I've seen very, very few moving companies that have a solid Yelp score. And usually they're very small companies I've never heard of. And that's one of those things that if we could get somebody on the podcast to talk about how to actually figure out, how to figure out Yelp, that would be amazing because they filter good reviews. They leave up bad reviews. They leave up fake reviews that are bad, but they'll filter good, legitimate reviews. It's crazy. But, I don't want to
use that for Apple too. Like Apple, it's because Apple wants Yelp's data. I know this because Google has Google Maps. So like Apple Maps has to have different data. They don't want to buy any strong arm by Google. So that's just what they use. And because there's a shitload of data in there, but it sucks.
Yeah, it does.
So god awful.
And I mean, it's so funny because Yelp is really only in my opinion, relevant for restaurants. And even that, I don't even really look at it for. But I know some markets it's big. I know California's, San Francisco, those areas are pretty big with Yelp. Austin, Texas is another one. But most people, I think, are not really getting onto Yelp. I think Google is dominating. And I don't know if you recently heard, but Google Maps just released an update to where it is going to be 5 years ahead of Apple Maps. And I use Apple Maps. That's kind of my default with an iPhone, but I've started using Google Maps more and more, and it's integrating a lot more three-dimensional dynamic, things that are going to make it really, really powerful. And I think Google is by far still king. But I have noticed with Apple Maps, certain restaurants, certain places, they're using like Foursquare or TripAdvisor, maybe booking.com. They've started to integrate a few alternative review platforms for their service. From what I can tell, last I looked at it, they are still using Yelp for most home services. But it's funny because a lot of restaurants and stuff where you would think Yelp should be the main market aren't even on Yelp for Apple Maps. And it's weird how they're figuring all that algorithm out. But I hope they branch off from Yelp because that's really kind of the only thing I feel like Yelp is hanging on to. And it has a little SEO relevance, I guess. It shows up in certain search terms to, look for local area movers. It's, that's a struggle to, maintain that garden. You're trying to grow a Christmas tree in the Caribbean with trying to keep up with your Yelp garden when it comes to gardening and watering your review platform. So
I love that analogy.
It's tough. I want to take a second and tell you all about Tighten Up Training. As a co-founder, we've spent months and months and months and a lot of money pooling together resources from some of the best moving companies in the world. And we're excited to bring this to an online platform available to any mover to use at an affordable price. Tighten Up Training has over 200 videos, including mover training, your highest turnover position, so that you can reduce claims, streamline operations, give your team the tools to perform at the highest level of service that generate repeat and referral business and allow you to charge higher prices, as well as sales training, marketing training, business development, leadership. We're adding more content as we speak. We've got legal training in there. We've even got door-to-door training for the moving industry, thanks to Lenny Gray at the Moving Titan Retreat. We've seen a massive explosion of moving companies jumping on to Tighten Up Training since the last retreat, and people are loving it. And when you sign up and mention this podcast, we're going to give you a free 6-week onboarding course in order to learn how to hold your team accountable and get the entire team on the platform so that you can have the best off-season and summer season that you've ever had. So go to tightenuptraining.com, schedule your free demo today, and look forward to tightening up. But yeah, you mentioned, I was going to ask if you had team issues when you took over. I imagine Pearson had its own team. You mentioned that you lost about 40 or 50% of that team, but have you been able to leverage any economies of scale by sharing any kind of back-end support like call centers, bookkeeping, certain vendors, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's really like I would say like Lucky Day Moving right now. Like, I mean, I am the like physical sales territory manager, but my salesman or my ops that I brought over here moved back to California. He fell in love, and I was like, hey man, follow your heart, bro. Like, that's cool with me. And then because Lauren and I can now commit full time to here, and you can help bring energy to the California team. So structure wise, a few different things. So like I've had an assistant now for over a year, which really helped me as a business owner. Like even guys at like the 1 million mark, like even at 500,000, an executive assistant, just to delegate tasks. Like you don't have to do everything anymore in this world that we live in. And there's probably AI Claude bots that are, damn near close, if you're okay with the security, to do those things for you. It's forced change. It's literally forced change. Like, so we stopped being like a people driven business and now a process driven business, but underneath the process is a culture driven business. No one talks about a culture driven business because it's the right people in the right seat making the right decisions when no one's looking. And it's like, you can have all the Bibles of SOPs under the sun, but if you can't change your culture, then they just make poor decisions. And so, man, like it felt like fire. It was like, here, put out fires here, build this brand, get some referrals, big month. And I go over there, referrals go down, quality goes down. And then I'm like back here building it up again. Like it was just like that. I came back to California and like they were using fucking bubble wrap and shit because they were so out of pads. And like, dude, it was just like, what the fuck? There was like one stack of pads in the truck. I'm like, dude, me, there's 2 stacks. You guys are losing equipment. It was in terrible condition. I was so embarrassed of like the execution of like what was going on. And they're still like getting 5-star reviews. I'm just like, this isn't who I am. Like, we don't half-ass shit like this. Like, I just put the wrong person in charge and probably forced someone into elevation mode when I would say like out of necessity. So like, a few things when you're like filling roles, like you're not doing anyone justice to fill a role like an operations manager if they can't type. That's okay. If you don't have I get my house clean. Like you're not doing yourself a service of I've built some badasses on my team, but I've also found them already badass. Everyone's like, how do you find all these good people? I'm like, motherfucker, I don't find anyone. I attract these people, because like I've grown, and they stay with me because I've grown, because there's room for them to grow. And so like, I don't know, just like hiring people in your business for roles that are outside their skill levels, you are now limited, capped as a business to what you know. All these experts say hire people with skills you don't have. Like it could be like an accounting skill or a communication skill or a leadership skill, or but there needs to be a skill that is going to improve you that you don't already have all the answers to, because the constraint of the business is the business owner's decisions. Putting people that don't know how to freaking type or run teams or lead people or anything like that, or no experience in management, like putting them as a management on like a $4-5 million company is like absolutely insane, you know? And so like even at a $1 million company, like you can't freaking type, you can't write shit out, you can't text people, you can't write emails, it's hard for you to do payroll, you don't know how to use technology, like you ain't the freaking guy, you know? Like
Mm-hmm.
I need someone who's good. And I feel like it's really helped us understand that we need a dispatcher in the morning at 6:30. Our team shows up at 7 and our operations manager shows up at 7. Operations manager working on lessons from the prior day, what we're working on, checking temperature checks on the team, and dispatcher as in like getting the trucks dialed in, reporting any issues we have, coordination, pulling up trucks, fueling them, things like that. And we run the same model. So the economies of scale, we hired like a office admin that does like a lot of the bookkeeping, works with our fractional CFO, writes checks, damage claims, settlements, all those kind of things. And then so like we really out here, like I just have like an operations manager and a dispatcher out here in Arizona, and it's multi-million-dollar business now. And so like I guess the sales is run as an HQ. So we have 2 sales assistants and then 3 salesmen right now, possibly 4 this summer, depending on demand and speed of communication on the KPIs that I track. But I guess like my top salesman's doing 2 million. My bottom salesman's doing 1.5 million. And that's my team. That's how we run. Like not everyone runs like that, but like that's how I want to run. I want dominant people making dominant pay and dominating our territories, because that's like what I need around me. I don't want people that put in minimal work. The worst salesman on my team is like doing 100K a month, and he's like pissed off, like, man, I'm so far behind these other guys. I'm like, bro, like you're freaking ahead of like 95% of the industry right now. Like as a salesman, like don't worry, dude. You know,
Now,
like
are
you're
they
good.
selling for both companies, or is that are
Yeah,
they in
yeah,
one market?
yeah, both companies. And so like we basically have 2 phone numbers. They come in to the main number, it just forwards it. And then I also created on top here an 888 number as like an outbound number to in all the automations to send. So there's like, you know, corporate line, and then it says like, thanks for choosing. It was like Central Coast and Arizona Moving, because Central Coast being the bigger one, I want to identify as the bigger one first. And then Lucky Day Moving and Storage. It was Central Coast and Arizona when we did Pearson, because I didn't really like, I knew there was going to be a rebrand. So, anyways, Central Coast and Lucky Day.
So what is
A
Arizona
lot.
moving? Is that like a
It was
just
just like
a
territory. It was like territory. Like we're
okay?
Arizona and California locations. Like I've had to do a lot of explanations of like why I have an 805 number. You know, I also now Nate, our sales director of Arizona, has a 602 number. I have a 602 number. You know, so like when I'm messaging people, they think I'm from the area more. It's more of like a connection thing rather than
Right.
this random 805 number. You don't belong. Their guard's already coming up. And so
Hmm.
like little things are the big things, like subtle little areas. Um, trying to think like what other economies of scale. Like yeah, I mean,
So are they doing a lot of virtual estimates with like Live Switch, or do you do any on-site estimates, or is it over the phone, virtual primarily with that sales team?
Arizona, yeah, a lot of virtuals. I mean, like I'm like, if I go out to a house, it better be a $4,000 move, and you better get a deposit taken care of to reserve the date, because like I don't want to waste my time 3 hours and 3 hours of my day for a job that needs this, but it's not worth my time. Like I'm like I've built $600 an hour. Like if you aren't making that shit, like that's wasting my time. You like profit, like profiting that, you know. And so that's just how I got the team to see, like, protect my time too. Like, don't bother me with shit that isn't $600 off, you know, straight up.
Makes sense. So
I
so
mean, it's not trying me
basically,
trying to go ahead.
are those guys based in California, or do you have some in California, some in Arizona?
All in California. We in California we have like a 2 acre facility and a warehouse, and then we have like a headquarters office that's right above a real estate thing, real estate association, very strategic, and it was like
Yeah.
it was the cheapest thing I could find. With I have a podcast room. It's just a quiet, clean, organized place, and then I have my like little rough around the edges, get shit done, boys in the yard vibe.
Right.
Ideally, in a perfect world, I have it all together, but the Wi-Fi just can't support that many people having like two, three. Dude, I got like my ops manager has 3 monitors. Like, pro tip: if you're not using 2 monitors right now, use 2 monitors. It's like game changer. Like it'll 5% more output.
I've got 2 monitors up right now for this podcast. I'll be honest, that's literally all I use it for. I am so much more efficient on my laptop because I can just like use the trackpad, get it. My girlfriend, it drives her crazy because she doesn't know how I do that. But I do have the setup, but I usually honestly choose to use my laptop. But I'm also not dispatching, and I'm not watching Samsara, and I'm not taking sales calls, and yeah. So anyway, that's just me. I'm weird like that, but no, that's interesting. So you've been able to grow both companies primarily through tools like Live Switch and being able to do those virtuals with very limited actual on-site estimating. I mean, that's ultimately what Live Switch is designed for. And so that's super, super interesting. And, I let my inside sales guys that don't even tend to quote the bigger jobs, they usually are newer people. I encourage them to use Live Switch even for smaller moves because you get that face-to-face interaction. They see that you're a real people, and I think you'll agree people like to do business with other people, and they want to be able to put a face behind the company and do business with a face rather than just a name or somebody over the phone that could be who knows who. So that's no, that's great. That's great to hear that you've been able to scale it that way and book larger moves virtually.
Thank you. Let's pause on that though. Live Switch. Have you looked at the data of like on sites compared to Live Switch compared to no Live Switch? Like you can increase your salesman's close ratio by 5% by just doing encouraging like Live Switch or virtual surveys. Like it's insane. Shout out to Live Switch, Michael.
One of the things we're trying to figure out is, how you have like a click to call button on your website and it automatically connects your phone. I mean, most people are searching from their phone these days. I want to figure out how we can have a click to connect on virtual, through Live Switch. And I've been talking to the team over there about, implementing something to where it immediately connects you with somebody just like a phone call would. Who's sitting in front of a camera with a nice backdrop, nice camera setup, and automatically they can go on the site and click into it. And, they say it's a good idea. We'll see if it comes to fruition. But, at the very least, another tool that we're working on implementing is scheduling your call through the website. So basically they go and they click on the calendar that's connected and bridged into Smart Moving. And so it might be, they might schedule a call for right now, getting to that point, but ideally you got 15-30 minutes to give the person a buffer time to see the notification and get off the call that they're currently on or whatever. But I think that you get leads coming in a lot of times late at night when nobody's managing. You might have an AI agent, you might have some VAs handling that, or a third-party call center handling the after hours calls coming in. But what we found is that even if they get through, I mean, we use all of it. We have VAs, we have an AI agent, but what we found is that sometimes it's really hard to get that person back on the phone at 8 o'clock the next morning. If they, maybe they work a night shift, they get home at 1 a.m. and they fill out the quote form. Well, by 8 a.m., 10 a.m., whatever time, that speed to lead is now gone 8 or 10 hours. And we all know how important the speed to lead is. But if we have the ability to let them schedule an appointment to talk, then they're going to be a lot more likely to answer the call because they'll be prepared. They'll get a text and an email notification. They can put it on their calendar automatically, and they're on standby. And that's when we call them back when they come in after hours. And I don't know if you want to encourage as much of the scheduling for when it's during the day, because that you got that speed to lead and they're actively engaged and you want to try to jump on that in 30 seconds. But even then, sometimes too, people are at work, they're in the middle of something, they're trying to get it done. They could still have the option to call live. Otherwise, they could have the option to schedule a time where they can actually focus on what's going on amid life's chaos. And, they could schedule an on-site estimate, or they could schedule a virtual, or they could schedule a phone call, and, leave it up to their preference to be able to do that. Most of you have heard me talk about Moversville and the power of their email marketing service that has helped us increase leads by over 112% over the last year. But have you heard of Moversville Connect? Moversville Connect is an incredible resource for all things moving. They feature an array of vendors and services and lists like insurance providers, softwares, equipment suppliers, marketing sources, and much, much more. The best part? This resource is free. Go check out Moversville Connect today by going to moversville.com and clicking Connect. That's moversville.com and click Connect and discover the world of Moversville beyond email. Another thing that I'd love to be able to implement that I've been trying to play with is creating a custom GPT for the website. So, chatbots have been around forever since, I was in probably middle school, but, not to a high level of sophistication like it's possible with now. Imagine training a custom GPT on everything there is to know about your company, from every SOP that you have to all of the, inputs that you put into it with your pricing matrix and, all these different things. And maybe it's not GPT, maybe it's Claude, maybe it's one of these others, but putting that bot on your site and being able to have that texting customers with you and being conversational as if it's a real person over text. Maybe they're on a desktop and they're chatting, but it feels like a real person, just like ChatGPT feels like you're talking to a real person because it's so conversational and it actually knows the answers, and ultimately getting that to a place where it could actually book the move for you because it has all of the rebuttals programmed. It has your whole script programmed. It has all of the, nuances of your company, can answer any question that a salesperson could answer. Because I think the future, and maybe we're not quite there with our target demographics with the customers right now, because we still, typically somebody 40 to 65 years old who tends to be our ideal clientele, they still want to talk to a real person. They still want to, get face-to-face in their bigger home, or, do a virtual or do a phone call. But I think as the Gen, what is it? What are we up to? Gen Z, I think we're up to like Gen A and again now. But even millennials, I think everybody after that, they like to text. I like to text. Why take time talking on the phone when I could be working on something else and just texting, even conversationally? It's just way quicker and way more efficient when people on the phone tend to, suck up a lot more of your time just chit chatting and whatever, being conversational,
quick
being
questions,
polite.
like, hey, like, I'm
Quick
going to send you a
questions.
link. Yeah, here's a link, answer some questions. I mean, like, dude, let's even go deeper. Like, man, I wish there was like a AI texting number that my team could just ask for help, send photos to, and it would show them how to wrap a baby grand piano. Like, hey, step one, step two, step three, and then company policies. And then you could just like, hey, so-and-so broke XYZ policy. I actually created a chat GBT for my team, but I share it with the moving one. It has all my contract. It's a custom one. It has all my contract files in it, policies, procedures, scripts on damage claims. And so really, it says like this. You tell them what happened, what kind of coverage they got, and it actually lays out the conversation and how you should guide them properly, and then how you should talk to them specifically, and because like the biggest frustration I have with operations is that they put off the claims to and they stack up and they don't execute them super fast. And I think a lot of us even personally deal with those. And it's like, it's pulling teeth. You yelled at twice in a row. You're like, fuck, I don't want to do two more. I got three more of these to handle. So like, if they have the right tools, they can execute a lot faster. So I love that idea.
Yeah, one way that we've combated that, because you're absolutely right. Ops does not like to deal with claims that get put off, problems fester, is we've got a role in our company called a chief of raving fans. And it's actually a VA that lives in Mexico City, but she speaks perfect English. She's super intelligent. And we've got an entire SOP on how to handle the claims. And she's also proactively getting in front of customers. So she's doing the 7-day packing checkup calls, confirming details, upselling packing services. She helps cover some of our after hours calls. But she, more importantly, is checking in during and after the move on every single move to get ahead of those claims. And then if there is an issue, she's got the ability and the processes to be able to resolve that claim. And that's really her full-time job. We call it a chief of raving fans because it's not just resolving the claims. It's doing everything leading up to the move and after the move to keep that line of communication instant with the customer. Solicit reviews, make sure that we capture those raving fans with reviews, testimonials, but also resolve issues when they come up, and having that dedicated point person that only costs $12 an hour, but saves a ton of money because the problems don't fester. The line of communication's open, prevents the bad reviews from, because the reviews are getting, or the claims are getting handled right away. Gives us data on who's causing what claims. Are there patterns? Is it the same guys, the same crews, the same items? What do we need to focus training on? So anyway, I know there's third-party claim services out there that exist, but they're also working with dozens of
I didn't
companies.
like it at all. Like, and then I tried one, and she was like wanted to sell my valuation. She's like, "Oh, I can't do this because you have peace of mind coverage." And I mean, that's way better than what I would do. Like, I was like, "You didn't tell me once when we spoke that you would get 40%. Like, that was your main pay, to get 40% of the valuation that you sold." And I was just so irritated. I felt like taken advantage of, and I was like, well, the reason I have it is because it's a cool ass policy to have, and it helps people. Like, and like, you are, I don't know, I like was so turned off to the claims third party thing, like it, like completely. I was like, and I've tried other ones, and like I've actually called into some call centers. I'm not going to say who, and they didn't even pick up the phone, and their salesman kind of sucked. And I was like, what? Like, I'm definitely not doing that.
Yeah, the problem, the business model with both third party call centers and claims, and not gonna throw anybody under the bus, but because they are valuable services if you need those things filled. But if
Totally.
once you get big enough and you can afford to bring things in house a little bit more, it's just going to be a much more on brand approach to how you do business. Whereas a third party sales center or claims center is going to tend to take a more cookie cutter approach. You could have a great SOP that you provide to them. Sometimes they only want to stick to their own, and it's good, but it's not necessarily completely on brand with your company. So it is efficient. It's definitely, it can prevent you from having to hire out all these roles and take the liability of having a company. So there's pros and cons depending on what stage of the business that you're in. But as you get bigger and bigger, you open more locations. If you want to franchise or scale, and you have the ability and the margin to be able to bring that stuff in house, it can be a great investment because it just leads to more repeat and referral business. And I don't think of our chief of raving fans as just a claims person. Maybe we could pay a couple $100 a month to a third party to handle that stuff. But and we're paying whatever $12 an hour times 40 times 4
Yeah.
is. But it's to me, that's a very worthwhile investment because she's going to be getting the 5-star reviews. She's going to be preventing the 1-stars, and a lot of times converting what could have been a 1-star if it sat unanswered into a 5-star. And she's also just having that amazing communication throughout the process that's on brand to increase that repeat referral business and ultimately reduce claims. Because if you're communicating with your customer every step of the way, from before the move even starts to during the move to after the move, and it's the same point of contact every single time, that customer is probably going to be less likely to go over everything with a fine tooth comb because they know that they're in good hands and that they're being taken care of. But if you've got holes in your bucket and you're not communicating well and there's problems from the get-go, they're going to be looking for things a lot more often.
Yeah, and the time that it takes to solve the problem exponentially
Mm-hmm.
gets worse. Like, they
Mm-hmm.
fester, they get issues, they spread. Think about this, like, for someone to spread negative word about your business is like 10 times easier. People love to bitch about things. Like, seriously, they love to complain. But like, how often are people like, man, that company's so good, they did an amazing job? Are you shitting? No one hardly ever says. So like, the review to like talk shit ratio of like, they're super easy to spread a 1-star, but like a 5-star, you gotta take that. You gotta earn that shit. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's very different, very like, negative word spreads so like a wildfire compared to like positive word. And there's a lot of goodwill that you have to build. And man, like, what he's talking about, guys, is a $2K a month investment. Look at your operations manager. Most of us pay him about 60 grand a year. You just bought back his probably 25% of his time or her time, maybe 50%, and the headaches. And now you have the right person on the right seat in the bus. where your operations manager can now put out the fires and protect your time a little bit better, and then you can elevate to the next time. But
Yeah, and you
they stop and control.
talk about culture too. I mean, you want your ops managers to be happy. Ops and dispatching is a very, very difficult job. It takes a
Yeah,
special type of person to be able to get up every morning at the crack of dawn, a lot of times before the sun even comes up, and get to the office and get things ready to go and worry about guys not showing up and confirming the schedule and having to have tough conversations with guys, then having to have conversations with customers. Like, why would you put an even like probably the worst part of the business, handling claims or, just generally solving some of those issues? Why would you put that on their plate? Because that's going to make them not happy if they have to now deal with that after they've been dealing as the liaison between the mover and the customer. Like, you want them when they're picking up the phone to do a confirmation call with the customer to be really happy. And you want them when they're scheduling guys to be, happy with them. And because that energy is going to carry over to the customer when they're talking to the customer, and it's going to carry over to the crew when they're trying to get them fired up to go off and seize the day and want to show up to work. And it's a trickle down effect. And if you're putting too much on your plate, now don't get me wrong, sometimes you need the ops team to feel a little bit of the pain and know about the claims and maybe address little minor issues at closeout or, whatever, because that way they're going to keep it front of mind and make sure that, they don't have to feel that pain. But in the moving business, there's going to be things that happen, and there's going to be difficult customers, even if you do a perfect job, that are tough to please. And if you can take a little bit of that off for the more complicated stuff and then make sure that that stuff gets resolved immediately, then everybody's just going to be happier, and it's going to improve the overall culture, the employee satisfaction, the energy, because I know.
their like appreciation for the job and the person that they come home at night. Like, it's so, sorry to cut you off. It's so underappreciated of like how you can best serve someone on your team by like not putting all of the bullshit on one person. Imagine the conversation that they have at home. Their last hour and a half of their day is eating shit by these clients that were difficult and they're miserable. That's how they talk about their company at home. If the spouse sees the husband or whatever opposite, like doing push-ups, going to the gym at 5 a.m. in the morning, leveling up as an individual, talking different, walking different, dressing different, they're like, damn, like this company's like kind of badass. Like
Mm-hmm.
I got a new husband at home, like, and it's just like culture, man, culture, and like it's like implement a system, change the culture, implement a system, change the culture, improve it. I love that. Like, I texted my wife already, like, hey, like I think we need this role. I mean, it's not like we have claims galore, but I mean, our claims actually reduced significantly, but still,
And it's
like,
not even just claims. I mean,
yeah,
again, it's just that line of
upsells.
communication, the upsells 7 days out. It's the, it's the check-in call. No moving companies are doing check-ins. I mean, maybe some are, but very, very, it'll put you in the top 1% if you have somebody on your team calling that customer during their move and the next day, following up, shooting them a text, however they prefer to communicate, and just making sure everything went well. And you might think that, like, well, this is going to open up a can of worms, and there's going to be claims that, otherwise wouldn't have come up because I'm giving them an opportunity to tell me about them. Good. Like, you want the opportunity for them to tell you about them, and you don't want a satisfied customer, because one thing that's worse than an unhappy customer, in my opinion, is just satisfied. They were fine, because those are going to be the people that forget about you. They're going to be the people that don't point out the areas in your company that need to be addressed and improved and trained on. And they're going to go off and maybe tell somebody, yeah, they were fine. Or they'll just forget who you are. And if you've got that person that's checking in and catching those things before, and I'm not even saying that they're going to turn into a 1-star review, but they could. But if you've got somebody that is getting ahead of those little minor things and just know it, so the customer knows that you're communicating, because we all know that you're going to separate yourself from 90% of the competition just by communicating with the customer, by picking up the phone, by returning the texts and the emails right away. Because so many people are used to hiring a home service company that doesn't even answer the phone when they're trying to book something, let alone when they're trying to get an issue solved or ask a question. Anyway, that's a little secret that we found.
Can I build off that a little bit, Wade?
Sure.
So like the one challenge that I see in our industry with operations department is that they're just putting out fires. They become the firemen, so good at it. And then they like enjoy the exhilaration of the dopamine of solving the problem. But it's like, you know what's not sexy? Preventing fires before they ever happen. From
Hmm.
being like, the crew, I don't know what they call that in that fire show, but it's like the crew that prevents the fire from happening, preventative measure. Like, and I tell like one of the biggest things I train with operations, using your tools and delegating. You have an ops assistant, you have a general manager now. We can talk about that too if you have questions at Central Coast. But like you have a team behind you. Like you don't have to do this all anymore. Pass the baton to the next person and prevent the wildfires from happening. Like we can contain anything. We have the baddest ass in the industry people on our team, but like we gotta prevent like, hey, Saturdays. Saturdays is in tempo. Guys don't wake up, they party, whatever the hell that happens. Like you need to have three drivers on deck that you check in with in the morning. You can pay them for an hour of work, whatever it needs to be, to just be available. And if you don't come in, when I do call you in, you're suspended for a week because this is part of the deal we made when you came on to work here. So it's like, how do you prevent the issues before they come out?
Yeah, one little thing that we found years ago to get people to show up on Saturdays is that we actually run our payroll for a check date on Mondays, so that guys don't get paid until Monday, and that way they're not getting paid on a Friday and then going and blowing their money doing stupid things over the weekend that'll cause work issues, and then running out of money midway through before the next pay cycle. So we pay weekly, but it's on Mondays, and it helps them budget because there's a lot less distractions from Monday until the end of the weekend. And then if they got a little bit something left over, they're not on the schedule, or they got a day off or whatever, they got to budget it. So payroll on Mondays has been really good to prevent those call outs on the weekends. Just
And then
FYI.
everyone, this is a savage technique, okay? If your week starts on Sunday, and if you run Sunday jobs, okay? But if your week starts on Sunday for payroll, then if you have to work them on a Sunday, which is usually kind of like a rough day, you have all week to protect your Saturday overtime, Friday, Saturdays, right? If you do it Monday to Sunday, your ass is getting tons of unnecessary overtime on these weekends when there's likely less support in the office and all these things. We just give you a 1% better tip. I just gave you a 1% better tip. Your company is now 2% better if you run this play for your team to avoid them going crazy, partying, having all this money in their pocket, blowing it on the weekends, getting drunk, hungover, and protect your payroll percentage. Like crazy how much overtime you can avoid by just tweaking a few things in your business.
Yeah. Our pay cycle is from Thursday to Wednesday. So we're basically starting the weekend at the beginning of a new payroll that's another big reason with that. But Austin, I've got another podcast that I got to get on in a few
Totally. Yeah,
minutes,
yeah,
and we're coming up on an hour. But I could talk to you all day. And in a
yeah.
couple months, I will be talking to you all day because we're going to
Let's
be
go.
together in Scottsdale at a beautiful mansion that we're renting out for the weekend. And we've got a really strong group of powerhouse moving companies that are going to be coming out. Just wanted to leave a couple minutes here to just kind of chat on the
Yeah.
power of mastermind. We do have a few spots available if you're trying to get in the house with this group that we've got lined up coming in, but we're going to be having conversations like this basically through that whole weekend nonstop. We're also going to do some fun activities, maybe do a little pickleball tournament because the house does have a pickleball court. That's what I'm rooting for. But you got any closing remarks on that topic before we sign off here?
Yeah, what the Titans and myself are working on, like these are war chests. Like we are going to have a notebook full of golden nuggets that each individual company, and we're recommending that you're a $2 million mindset company because like $2 million being like you're maybe not doing 2 million yet, but you got $2 million actions. You're prepared to take the actions necessary because if you're not, then this event may not be for you. It's for the type of people that want action, that want their growth, that are willing to open up their book to givers gain, right? Like I'm bringing nuggets, like dude, like I didn't reinvent the wheel. Like everyone's like, oh, I don't know if I want to join the movie army. There's a guy in my area. I'm like, dude, freaking all of Arizona could jump in. Like I'm unique. Like I am my own fire. Like it's just different. You're different. You move different. So like what makes you special is like imagine all these other special people in the room. And at my event, like I'll be the first to admit, I stacked so many speakers. There was like one lunch. We even ate lunch at the table the first day because there's so much back to back to back because I was like trying to get as much value as possible. They missed this like intimate networking, like actual nitty gritty conversations, brotherhood, get close. That's why I'm like so much belief into this group. And that's why there's like tons of the moving army guys going into this. And like, it's because like, it matters. Like these are the rooms, like getting in the right room to put the pressure around yourself to change is how you level up. Like I said, the number one people in all industries right now are building communities around them and joining communities. And you could be kind of in the Titan, kind of in the moving army, have some friends or on the Facebook groups, but are you really that committed? Like, are you really holding yourself accountable? Are you really around the people that are moving faster than you, building those connections where you could text them? You're in an accountability group post. Imagine this. You're in an accountability group with me, Wade, and Chad, and some other badasses that come to this event, like Chris Sweet or someone like that. And like, you're like, oh, dude, like, oh, I got this new bench press, this, like, oh, check out my new truck. Like, which one should I get? All these things. Like, imagine like you have the ability to be in a group text like that, like with permission to text them and ask them questions because they know, like, and trust you, because you probably don't have that yet. So if you want that, we'll see you June 10th through the 13th in Scottsdale, Arizona, baby.
That's right. Well, we hope to see as many people out there that are ready to take that next level and break through. I think 2026 is going to be a great year. It's already off to an amazing start for most of the companies that I talk to, including Austin and myself. And a lot of things are changing really quickly in this business. So hope to see you guys out there. Austin, thanks for coming on the show. If you guys have any questions for Austin or myself, feel free to reach out. How can people get a hold of you, Austin?
Yeah, I mean, official Austin Yarborough on Instagram. I don't really go on Facebook. Go on Instagram, DM me. I even have this little mini chat thing where it helps you, like, ask me the right question. I had a tons of information that was like going off in my head that we didn't even touch on. So if you want more gold like this, you want to hear more, DM Wade about having Austin back on, and we might be able to get me back out here. All right, see you guys.
Awesome. Yeah, you can find me at Wade Swikel on Instagram as well, and Titan Retreats if you're interested in what we were just talking about in Scottsdale in June. Come find us, and we look forward to talking with you all more. Thanks for coming on, Austin. This was fun.
Let's go.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Grow Your Moving Company podcast. If you would like to learn more about any of the sponsors listed on this show, want to apply for the next Moving Titan retreat, or interested in owning or working for Two College Brothers franchise, drop me a line at wade@twocollegebrothers.com. Moving out. Have a great day.